This interview is brought to you by Place of Bliss Academy. Interview with a man named Sadness. Disclaimer: what you are about to hear is an interview with someone who is intriguing, yes, and a little chilling. Is he a friend showing us ourselves and the dangers of our psyche and thoughts? Or a bellwether and warning of a covert assailant waiting to pounce? I will let you decide. Experience had put this man in my orbit. I knew of him. I had heard of his name, and apparently he had heard of mine too. As a healer, my doors are open to all, and I have a natural curiosity of people, experiences, and situations. Sadness had been around for a long time. He was no stranger in a crowd. His own life had been peppered by experience, and he was well known himself to almost everyone I knew. So it was no surprise now that my arms opened wide for him to come into the sanctuary to talk. He agreed to an interview and to share his life experiences so that I may share them with you. I was fascinated. I heard the knock on the door. It was gentle, almost quiet and unobtrusive. The dogs didn't even bark. And I said to myself, this is what it's like when sadness comes knocking. Still, I opened the door and there he was. Not what I expected when I opened the door to see his face. I'd been in the same room as him before, but always he seemed a shadowy figure, bouncing from person to person. He was charming and popular even. I never saw his face in the light of day, always in the darkness of some event. So when I opened the door and saw a man smiling, pleasant, and even sweet, I instantly felt comfortable and felt my body ease. I let him in. I asked him to sit and offered him the comforts of my sanctuary and served him tea. We talked about how we'd known each other throughout the years, but why we never really got close enough to know each other well. He felt there were a few times where he may have the opportunity to get to know me, but always I would become distant, unavailable, and then go on with my life. He was amazed at how happy I always seemed to be on the outside, but he said something in his name made him acutely aware that there was sadness in there, so he waited. He called me Sunshine playfully and said that was my nature. I knew this to be true. People naturally add sunshine to my name eventually, or describe me that way. But sadness seemed to understand that one cannot be a perpetual sunbeam. He waited. He waited for what? I shudder to think. I hardly know this man, but he seems to know me. Perhaps because my whole life I have had brushes with sadness. Like I said, he's been in my orbit. Maybe that gives us some sort of comfort level, even if it is an uncomfortable comfort. Something you know, although it isn't good. I asked him why on earth his parents named him Sadness. He said they didn't. He changed his name to Sadness all on his own. I was surprised. My next question was, why on earth did you change your name to Sadness? He said sadness was something everyone was familiar with, something everyone invites in, just like I did, something that everyone spends time with and even keeps private. Some even have a secret relationship with sadness, making sadness special. Everyone knows sadness, and everyone reacts to sadness differently. Some want a long-term relationship with sadness, and some allow him only to pass through. Sadness is never lonely. I told him I was so surprised when I saw him. I expected him to be this shadowy figure with deep frown lines in his face. I never really got to see him before, not really. He said everyone thinks that That's why they always welcome him in when they see the way he really looks. Sadness on his surface is just like everyone else. The longer he stays, the more you get to know him, the more you see and feel him. He's a good listener, and he has words to add to your story. The longer he stays, the deeper you feel his shadow. He finished his tea and biscuits, and I thanked him for coming. I strategically booked a client 1 hour from his visit. He wasn't going to have that much time with me, and for good reason. I kept my focus on my dreams, hopes, and my own sunshine. I focus on being a lighthouse. I don't seek the shadow that sadness seems to like. Shadows seek me to come into the light. Sadness has been around, and I know I will see him again in my orbit, but he doesn't like the light as much as I. When sadness comes knocking on your door, have your own strategy. Be prepared. Know your focus and stick to it. He likes to visit, add to your story, and like he said, he knows everyone. Interview with the Man Named Sadness has been brought to you by Place of Bliss Academy.